Hello everyone. Uh, very welcome to the class. Let's just check if we are live. Yes, we are live, very much live. Let me just check the audio once, if it is clear or not. Hello everyone. Very welcome to the class. Let's just check if we are live. Yes, we are live, very much live. Let me just check the audio once, if it is clear or not. Okay. The audio is also absolutely clear. I'm really sorry about the earlier class, guys, because I did not want the class to get disturbed, and hence I started a new class, because it gets really irritating that I'm taking a class and then you can hear barking and all. So I'm really apologize for that. From my end, this will not be repeated at all. Absolutely not. I've made sure that they stay outside. I've made sure that they're not here. So from now on, the class will not be disturbed at all by any external affairs, any external thing that might happen. The class will not be disturbed. Okay, so let's just start with our lesson today. So since we are, yesterday only I started this topic on Delhi Sultanate, right? I discussed the slave dynasty with you. I discussed Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Razia Sultan, Nasiruddin Mahmud, and then finally I discussed Balban. Now today we will be starting with the Khiljis, and we will be discussing about the two most important Khilji rulers. We'll be discussing about Jalaluddin Khilji and Alauddin Khilji, and then we will also be talking about their administrative aspects, the revenue aspects and all of that. So today, in short, we will be dealing entirely with the Khalji or the Khilji Empire or the Khilji dynasty. I won't call it an empire as such because it was not that huge. So yesterday we started with Delhi Sultanate, and let's now begin. Let's move ahead with our lesson. And before I move ahead, I would like everyone to join the Telegram group. The link has been given in the description box, guys. Okay, the link has been given in the description box. All you have to do is go join that group, because this is where you will get updates regarding the classes. Yes, this is where you will get updates regarding the classes. And also what is going to happen, also the files that we use to teach you all, the file that I've uploaded right now, that file will be given to you in the PDF format, and hence your preparations are never going to stop. Okay, so let's begin. Let's move ahead and let's talk about the next dynasty that we have to talk about. So today we will be talking about the Khaljis here. Okay, the Khaljis or the Khiljis. There's a little differentiation in the pronunciation. Some say it is Khaljis, some say it is Khiljis. So any which way, we will be talking about these particular rulers. Okay, so first of all, we will be talking about Jalaluddin Khilji, who ruled from 1290 to 96. Now these dates are extremely important and you must be remembering them. Okay, then we will be talking about Alauddin Khilji, 1296 to 1316, the very famous Padmavati Alauddin. Then we'll be talking about the administrative reform. We will be talking about their market reforms, their military reforms, the revenue reforms, and the monuments that they have constructed. Okay, this is how we will go about in this chapter. Okay, so just let's take a brief of what we had done yesterday, so that there is a continuation. So we started with Qutbuddin Aibak. We discussed that he was the founder of the slave dynasty. Fine. He did not rule for a very long time. He only ruled for 4 years. And since he was a slave of Ghori, he established what is known as the slave dynasty. Fine. Then we have Iltutmish, whose original name was what? His original name was Shamsuddin Ilyas. And then he was the one who started with the Chehelgani, the 40 nobles, the corps of 40 nobles. And he was the one who made Razia Sultan his daughter. For the first time, he made his daughter. I think in the history of India, someone had made their daughter the ruler. And then we have Razia Sultan, we have Nasiruddin Mahmud, who was not really interested in becoming a ruler. So then we have whom? Then we have, finally we have the greatest ruler, who is known as Balban. Okay, that's what we had spoken about yesterday. So now let's talk about the Khaljis. Okay. So first of all, we will begin with Jalaluddin Khilji or Khalji. Now, Jalaluddin Khilji was a Turk. Fine, he was a Turk, वो Turkey के थे. And then even then he settled in Afghanistan. Okay. And he gave his second daughter to Mongol leader Ulugh Khan in marriage. So if you all remember your nomadic empires, you would also remember who Ulugh Khan was. Ulugh Khan was a very important confidant of Genghis Khan. He was a very important friend of Genghis Khan. He helped Genghis Khan after his father's death. And Genghis Khan being, the political leader he was, he in fact used Ulugh Khan as well. So you know who Ulugh Khan was, right? So he gave his second daughter in marriage to the Mongol leader Ulugh Khan. Fine. Alauddin Khilji was his son-in-law. Also, he was his nephew. Now, I know you must be confused ki how can someone be the nephew and also their son-in-law. So, in Islam, it is actually allowed for you to marry your cousins. Fine. So, Alauddin was Jalaluddin's nephew. Okay. Means he was his brother's son. And then he also married the daughter of Jalaluddin, whose name was Mehrunisa. So they got married, and you know what happened? I'll tell you something. Alauddin actually killed Jalaluddin. So Jalaluddin was coming to meet Alauddin, and instead of when he went to greet him, he killed him. Unko maar diya tha because he wanted the throne. Okay. Now, so Jalaluddin invaded the Devagiri kingdom and procured a lot of wealth. Fine. And Devagiri was the first South Indian state to receive the Islamic invasion. Later, Alauddin murdered his uncle Jalaluddin and ascended the throne. This is something I've already told you. Now, if you all remember the Padmavat movie, I'm just citing it so that you have a visual representation. You remember how there's a scene where he's literally carrying, I think, the Queen of Devagiri in his hands like this. So that's what we're talking about. So what is very important about Jalaluddin's career is that he invaded the Devagiri kingdom, and this was the first Islamic invasion. I wouldn't call it an Islamic invasion, but yes, this was the first invasion. First, you can say Turkish invasion or in the South Indian kingdom, okay, or in the South Indian states. So Devagiri was the first kingdom to be, I won't say it was annexed or it was conquered, but yes, it was invaded and a lot of wealth was procured. Okay, so that's a little bit about Jalaluddin Khilji. Now we will be talking about Alauddin as well, and I will be giving you a brief flowchart also, like I've given it to you yesterday. So okay, let's do that. Alright, let's talk about the Khaljis. Let's talk about Jalaluddin. He is obviously the founder of the Khaljis. He was a Turk. Settled in Afghanistan. Okay. Invaded Devagiri. First Turkish invasion in South. Okay. Killed by his nephew. Okay. So these are the important points regarding Jalaluddin which I have mentioned here. So you can always refer to these points, guys. All this will be available in your notes. So you can always refer to these points while you are revising. Okay, let's move ahead. So we've spoken now about Jalaluddin. So now also we have to remember that he gave his second daughter in marriage to the Mongol leader Ulugh Khan. This I have not mentioned, but yes, you can remember this point. Alright. So if there's any doubt, anything that you might not have understood, you can always drop me a comment in the live chat and let me know if there's any doubt or any difficulty that you might have faced here. So we've started with the Khalji dynasty. We have finished with Jalaluddin Khalji. Now we move on to Alauddin Khalji, and Alauddin Khalji only we have to talk about a lot of reforms that he had introduced. Okay. Let me know if you have any doubts here, if there's anything that you have not understood. Sure. Okay. Moving ahead, now we will talk about Alauddin Khalji. So in Alauddin Khalji, I've divided his rule in different parts. So first of all, we will talk about his military expeditions. Fine. Then we will talk a little bit about Malik Kafur and his contributions. And then we will talk about the administrative reforms, market reforms, military reforms, and then we'll talk about his revenue reforms. Okay. So, okay, alright, let me tell you a little bit about Alauddin Khalji, a little brief about him. So, Alauddin Khalji was Jalaluddin's nephew. Fine, what was he? He was Jalaluddin's nephew. And what did he do? He in fact killed his uncle, even though he was married to his daughter, his uncle's daughter. He killed his uncle. Why? Because he wanted to usurp the throne. Fine, वो क्या करना चाहते थे? वो throne को usurp करना चाहते थे, and hence what did he do? He had killed his own uncle. Fine. And you know, there's this whole story where he had invaded Chittor. There's a story of Padmavat by Malik Muhammad Jaisi, where he had invaded Chittor because he wanted to capture Padmini. I will be telling you about all of that when I come to the chapter. Okay. So he had killed his uncle, and now he had become the Sultan of Delhi. He had become the ruler of Delhi. Let's talk about his military expeditions. Now his military expeditions were actually quite a lot. Fine. He did engage in a lot of warfare. He did engage in a lot of expeditions, and most importantly, he did engage in a lot of invasion. So he invaded Devagiri, and in fact at 3 instances he had invaded Devagiri. Once in 1296, then 1307, and then 1314. So 3 times Devagiri had been invaded by this person called Alauddin Khalji. Fine. Then he invaded Gujarat. After that he invaded Ranthambore, Chittor, and then Malwa. Now Chittor is exactly what we are talking about. This is the exact Chittor, Rani Padmini's Chittor. And now when I come to Rani Padmini's Chittor, I'll tell you exactly what happened. So let me tell you about the story of Padmavat, or which was written by Malik Muhammad Jaisi. Now, if you have read the story, you would know how it was. So let me just give you a little brief about the story. So this story is actually a story representing human love, the love between Rana Ratan Singh and Rani Padmini. Now the story is actually it's actually a part of your Sufi tradition. Yes. It's not actually a real story, it's part of your Sufi tradition story. Now this story shows the love that the Rana and the Rani had for each other. And through this story, they also wanted to project divine love. Fine? What did they want to do? They also wanted to project divine love. So let's talk about this story. So there was this Sinhalese queen, Rani Padmini, and she was very well protected by her father. so much so that she was not even allowed to talk to anyone. So she had a pet parrot. She would keep talking to that pet parrot. So one day the pet parrot flew away, and then he went to some Rajput king, and he told the pet parrot told the Rajput king that there's this very beautiful queen or a princess named Padmini. So the same parrot also went to Rana Ratan Sen. So Rana Ratan Sen ko pata chala. Then he went to Sinhal. He went to Sri Lanka, and he saw Padmini and he married her. And by the way, he was already married. He had a queen named Nagmati. So they got married, and then the parrot went to another Rajput king, told him the same thing, and hence Rana Ratan Sen and the Rajput kings were fighting with each other. It is in this scenario they were fighting amongst each other. So the Rajput king and Rana Ratan Sen were fighting amongst each other. Then Khilji got to know the same thing, and he also wanted to come here and see. And after they were done fighting, and then Khilji came on the scene, and that is when Rani Padmini had to commit Jauhar, right? But this is the story. But yes, Alauddin did have a siege, or you can say Alauddin did have did do his military expedition in Chittor, fine. And then he did his expedition in Malwa in 1305. Let's see what was happening in all of these places. What were the consequences of his military expeditions? So here I have talked about the military expeditions in this box, and in this box I will be talking about the consequences of his military expeditions. So when he defeated Gujarat, or when he invaded Gujarat, he defeated the Waghela Karndeva of Gujarat and married his wife Kamla Devi. Even though she was already married, Alauddin decided that he wanted to keep her for himself. Now, when he went to Chittor, Rani Padmini had to commit Jauhar because of him. Fine. Chittor was captured, but Rani Padmini committed Jauhar, and hence she did not fall into the hands of Alauddin. Alauddin's Chittor campaign has been described in this book called Padmavat, which has been written by Malik Muhammad Jaisi. I already told you about this. मैं आपको already इसके बारे में बता चुकी हूँ. I already told you about this situation. Okay. Let me know if you have any doubts still here, and then we will continue. The live chat is open, guys. You can always put in your doubts there. Just let me know if there's anything you don't understand here in Alauddin, in the military expeditions, and I will definitely let you know. Alright, let's move ahead. Now we will be talking about Malik Kafur. Who was Malik Kafur? Now Malik Kafur is a very important figure in the Khalji history. You know why? Let's talk about it. So Malik Kafur was actually a slave of Alauddin. Fine. Now it has been recorded in history that Malik Kafur and Alauddin had homosexual relations with each other. They had gay relationships with each other. It has been recorded in history, and there was nothing to be shy about. Alauddin was not shy about it. So they had some kind of gay or homosexual relationships. Maybe Alauddin was bisexual because he definitely was married to a woman. He definitely was interested in women. But at the same time, he was interested in men like Malik Kafur. So Malik Kafur, even though he was a eunuch, fine, he was a eunuch, he was castrated. He became the chief commander of his army. Whose army? Alauddin's army. So Malik Kafur has played a very important role, not just in the army, but also in the administration. So he was actually like the right hand, okay, What was he? He was actually like the right hand of Alauddin. So whatever Alauddin said, whatever Alauddin did, all that information, all that orders had to be carried out by Malik Kafur itself. Okay. So let's talk about Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur was a eunuch, but he had become the commander, the chief commander of his army. Now, he was the one who started the South Indian campaign. He defeated Ramchandra Deva of Devagiri. Then he defeated Katakiya. He also conquered the Hoysala kingdom. Then he also defeated the Veera and Sundara kings of Pandya dynasty. Okay? Then he also defeated the Veer Bhallala of Hoysala dynasty. So he was responsible for all the South Indian campaign of the Delhi Sultanate. Now so they started with the South Indian campaign with invading Devagiri, right? Devagiri was the first place to be invaded, and after that we have a lot others. A lot others were also invaded. Okay? Now, so Alauddin had inscribed the title of Sikandare Seni on his coins, which means Alexander. And after his death, since Malik Kafur was so important, Malik Kafur thought that he is going to get power, but obviously Alauddin's sons Qutbuddin Mubarak came to power. Fine. And Nasruddin Khusro Shah became the last ruler of the Khalji dynasty. Fine. So what all have we learned about the Khaljis? Let's talk about it. So first of all, let's talk about Alauddin Khalji. We talk about his military expeditions. He started with military expeditions with Devagiri, Gujarat, Ranthambore, Chittor and Malwa. What all happened with his military expeditions? Where in Devagiri, obviously it was invaded 3 times and a lot of money was won. Then in Gujarat, he actually defeated the wife of Waghela Karandev and married his wife Kamla Devi. He defeated the ruler Waghela Karandev and married the wife. Okay? Then in Chittor, obviously Padmini had to commit Johar because of him. And the siege of Chittor and Alauddin's campaign of Chittor has been mentioned in a book called Padmavat, which was written by Malik Muhammad Jaisi. Okay. Then we talked about Malik Kafur, who was a eunuch, but he became a very important person in the Khalji dynasty. He in fact became the commander of the army, and he was the one who started the South Indian campaign, defeated the Devagiri, Katakiya, Hoysala and the Pandya kingdoms. And Alauddin uses the title of Sikandare Seni, which means Alexander. Fine. Please remember these points. What does he use? He uses the word Sikandare Seni on his coins. Fine. And Malik Kafur assumed that after Alauddin's death, he would be the one who would be ruling further, but that did not happen. Qutbuddin Mubarak, who was the son of Alauddin, became the ruler, and Nasruddin Khusro Shah, who was the last ruler of the Khalji dynasty. Okay, so that's a little bit about Alauddin Khalji. So let's just write all of these points so that it becomes much more clearer to you all. Okay, let's start. First of all, writing about his campaigns, there's Devagiri, there is Gujarat, there is Chittor, then what else? Ranthambore, and Malwa. I'm not not writing down the consequences of it, like what happened. So we all know that in Gujarat, he married the Queen Kamala Devi in Chittor. Rani Padmini had to commit to her because of him. Fine. Let's talk about Malik Kafur. He was the commander of army. Started with the South Indian campaign. इसमें he defeated the Hoysala. Okay. Lastly, he defeated Devagiri. Fine. And then we also got to know that he called himself what? He called himself Sikandar Seni. And Malik Kafur assumed that he would be the next ruler, but that obviously did not happen. And who became the next ruler? Qutbuddin Mubarak became the next ruler. And then we have the last ruler whose name was Nasruddin Khusro Shah. Okay. So till here we have talked about the rulers, and now we will move ahead and talk about the administrative reforms which was introduced by Alauddin Khilji. Now, Alauddin Khilji knew that he had to set up a very strong central government if he wanted to continue ruling, because if he can kill his own uncle, he can also be killed in the same manner, which he did not want. So he set up a very strong central government. Okay? Now, he believed in the theory of divine right. What do you mean by that? So he believed in the theory that there are some people who are ordained by God. Fine. What are they? They are ordained by God and they have the divine right, or they have the right which has been given to them by God, that they are the ones who will become the rulers. So it has been decided by gods themselves that they will be the ones who will become rulers. Now, I think his most important administrative reform is the fact that he separated religion and politics. He never let religion and politics intermingle, which is a mistake the previous rulers have definitely done, because they did not want to offend the ulema. Hence, what did they do? They mixed religion and politics, but Alauddin knew that if he wanted to continue ruling for a long period of time, this is something he could not do. Okay? So he took various measures to prevent all kind of rebellions. He also restricted any kind of matrimonial alliances within the nobles. Do you know why? Because what happens is, like suppose one noble daughters get married to the other noble's son. Now they're not just nobles who are working for Alauddin Khilji, they have become part of family members. So definitely their loyalty towards each other would be more than their loyalty towards the ruler. Fine. Now that is something which does not work in the favor of the ruler, and hence this is what they had done. What did they do? They made sure that there was no intermarriage between the nobles. Fine. Now, he prohibited secret meetings of the nobles and all kinds of parties, and also he appointed an espionage system which was meant to keep an eye on the nobles, because you already know what has happened with Iltutmish and Razia Sultan because of the Chehelgani, because of the nobles, isn't it? So, and he also made sure that they did not interfere in the administration, and he also made sure that the ulema did not interfere in the administration. That was the most important thing. Now, who is the ulema? Let me just explain it to you. Ulema basically means alim. Alim means knowledgeable people. So, ulemas are people who have a lot of religious knowledge. Fine. Who are they? These are people who have a lot of religious knowledge, and hence they guide the king, they guide the ruler in all sorts of religious matters. But sometimes they also interfere in the political matters, in the sense, like suppose you're doing something for administration or for purely political reasons, but then they would get religion in between. Like for example, when Akbar cancelled jizya, the ulema was not happy at all because they thought that this was an un-Islamic step that is being taken. So Alauddin realized that this is something we should not be doing, and hence he made sure that he restricted the ulema's interference into the administration. Okay, so these were some of the administrative reforms that he had introduced. Let me know if you have any doubts here. Just take a look at all the points and let me see if you have any doubts. Let me know if there's anything you don't understand. We will definitely take a look at it. The live chat is open. Okay, now let's talk about his market reforms. Now, first Sultan, he was the first Sultan to pay his soldiers in cash. Now, he realized the importance of cash. He knew that cash provides you with a lot of opportunity, in the sense it provides you with a lot of options, isn't it? And cash in general makes life easy, right? Because when you have cash, you can buy whatever products you would want to. Fine. So he was the first Sultan to pay his soldiers in cash. Now, in order to restrict the prices of the essential commodities, he had also set up an elaborate intelligence network to collect information on black marketing and hoarding. I think that was the most important, you can say, this was the most important market reform which he had taken. So he wanted to make sure that the prices of the essential goods like dal, chawal, sabzi, vegetables, all of these things should remain within the reach of the people. It should be at a substantiated price, isn't it? It should be at a it should be in a subsidized rate. It should be available for people, and hence he made sure that he appointed an elaborate intelligence network. What did he do? He appointed an elaborate intelligence network because he wanted to make sure that no black marketing, no hoarding of these essential products is being done. You know what happens when there is shortage of certain product? These people, the producers or the middlemen, in fact, they hoard these products. They hoard them and they basically hold them back. Why? Because there's already shortage. And what happens when there's shortage? The product which is available with you, you can sell that product in very high prices because there's already shortage and the demand is actually quite high. Fine. That's exactly what happened in with Alauddin Khilji as well. So he made sure, he set up an intelligence system to make sure that nothing of this sort happens. So he set up an intelligence system to see that no black marketing or hoarding or anything like that should take place. Okay, now let's talk about his military reforms. Now you have seen the kind of expeditions or the kind of conquering activities he was doing, the kind of invasions that he was carrying on, the kind of military expeditions that he was involved in, right? He was not just involved in North India but also in South India. So obviously his military had to be perfect, don't you think? His military had to be perfect. They had to be in perfect shape. They had to be perfect fighters to be able to win all of these military expeditions. So Alauddin maintained a very strong, huge standing army. He also introduced the system of branding the horses, और दाग देना जो होता है horses को वो करना. Now what is that? So these horses were actually purchased for any cavalry purposes. The horses are purchased from Arabia because the Arabic horses are considered to be the best. They're very sturdy. They have a very good physique. They have very good physique also. They're very fast runners as well. So horses are purchased from Arabia. Now you want to make sure that the horse that you're getting is a good horse, is a horse of a good brand, and you also want to make sure that the horses don't intermingle, मतलब mix नहीं हो जाने चाहिए आपके घोड़े. Fine, you don't want your horses to get mixed with the other horses or the low quality of horses. So what do? You introduce a system of branding the horses. Now this was a little cruel practice, but I think that it was, at that point of time, it was a little necessary. So you have like a stamp, like a thing, fine. You heat it up, you heat the stamp, fine, and you put it on the horse, okay, and the area, that particular area will get a little burnt. So that would be the dag, or that would be the brand on the horses, and hence Alauddin would know that this is the horse he has to use for all his military expeditions. Fine. He also maintained a detailed register of the soldiers to prevent false musters and corrupt practices. He had a register in which he maintained a list of the soldiers who were working for him so that there could not be, any false musters, in the sense no corruptions would be there, fine, so that people would not lie to him, ताकि proxy basically ना लगे. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि they're going for a war and the actual soldier stays back and someone else takes his place because that soldier did not want to go. So that should not happen, and hence he kept a detailed records of all of these things. Now he also Arzi Mumalik was in charge of appointment of soldiers. Who was he? So Arzi or Arizi Mumalik was in charge of appointment of soldiers. He would look at the soldiers, take their training and everything, and then he would be responsible for hiring them. Okay, let me know if you have any doubts till here. If there's anything that you have not understood, we will definitely take it up. If there's anything that you have not understood in market reforms or military reforms, you can let me know. Okay, quite clear. Let's move ahead then. Now let's talk about his revenue reform. So Alauddin created a separate revenue department that was known as Diwani Mustharaj. Fine. What was it known as? It was known as Diwani Mustharaj. He also introduced the scientific method of land measurement and assessment of land revenue. Okay. Now here the land assessment again is not done on the measurement of the land, but the land is assessed on the basis of its productivity. Fine. What is it assessed on? It is assessed on the basis of its productivity. Fine. So it's not assessed on the basis ki, oh, it is 10 acres of land and this much will be the production. No, it is assessed on the basis of your productivity. Fine. Jizya was imposed on non-Muslims, and he also imposed heavy taxes on sardars, jagirdars and ulemas. Fine. So this was the revenue reforms which he had brought about, and this was also the revenue income. This is how he was earning from the revenue. Okay, so what all has he gotten? What all were his revenue reforms? First of all, he set up a separate revenue department that was known as the Diwani Mustaharaj. He also introduced a scientific method of measurement of land. Jizya was imposed on non-Muslims. He heavily taxed the sardars, jagirdars and the ulema. Okay, so these were the taxes which he was taking. So that's about the revenue reform. As far as the monument is concerned, he was the one who built the Alai Darwaza. Now this Alai Darwaza can be seen in the Qutub complex. If you've ever been there, I'm sure you have seen it. Okay. So with this, we have come to the end of our today's discussion. Let's do a quick recap of whatever we have done. So we started today with the Khaljis. We discussed Alauddin Khalji, Alauddin, his administrative reforms, market, military, revenue and monuments. Jalaluddin Khalji, he was a Turk. He settled in Afghanistan, married his second daughter to the Mongol leader Ulugh Khan. Then he was the one who invaded the Devagiri kingdom along with his nephew Alauddin. He married his first daughter to Alauddin himself, who was his nephew, but he was murdered by Alauddin because Alauddin also wanted the throne. Then we talked about Alauddin Khalji. We talked about his military expeditions. So first of all, we have Devagiri, Gujarat, Ranthambore, Chittor. In Chittor, we know what happened. Rani Padmini had to commit Johar because of him. And in Gujarat, he defeated the Waghela Karndev of Gujarat, and he married the wife of this Waghela, who was known as Kamla Devi. And whatever has happened in Chittor has been very beautifully represented in a book called Padmavat, which was written by Malik Muhammad Jaisi. Then we talked about Malik Kafur, how he had become his chief of army and how he had started the South Indian campaign by defeating the Devagiri, the Kartikiya, the Hoysalas, the Pandyas. Then we got to know that how Alauddin had inscribed the word Sikandar Seni on his coins, and how Qutbuddin Mubarak became the next ruler. And then we have Nasruddin Khusro Shah, who was the last ruler of the Khilji dynasty. Then we talked about his administrative reforms. Then we talked about his market reforms. He talked about his military reforms. And lastly, we spoke about his revenue reforms. I've already made a small flow chart for you so that you have a clear understanding of whatever we have done in today's class. You can also refer to this flow chart whenever you want so that you have a clear understanding on your revision also. Whenever you're doing your revision, you can just refer to this flow chart and you will have your clear understanding of whatever you have to do. You will also remember these points very easily, and hence you will also be able to solve your MCQs very easily. Okay, so that's about it in today's class. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed. I will again give you 1 minute to see if you have any doubts. If not, we will definitely end the session. Let me know if there's anything that you have not understood. Alright. Okay guys, so before I end the session, I would request everyone to join the Telegram group. The link has been given in the description box. Now, why is it important for you to join the Telegram group? Because this is where you will get updates regarding the classes, and most importantly, whatever files we upload, uske jo notes hain, you will get that in the PDF format. And also, before you all leave, I would request everyone to like the video. Okay, to like the video, share it with your friends. Do drop us a comment and let us know if there's anything you like. We would love to be appreciated. If there's anything you don't like, then also we would love to know. And most importantly, before you all leave, do subscribe to the channel. All right, press the bell notification. जल्दी से bell notification on कर लीजिए. Do subscribe to the channel so that and also press the bell notification so that you get notified whenever we post a new video online or whenever we come live, so that you do not miss out on any of your classes. All right, so this is me, Nikki Sinha, signing off from the side of Result Guru, and I will be seeing you all now on Saturday, and we will continue with our lecture on this chapter called the Delhi Sultanate. Thank you so much for joining me here, guys. It was an absolute pleasure.